smile. And why is that?
Because
We've reached the point
where we're going to my second favorite song.
Hi, I'm Rob Glanzman.
Yeah, Will Mill. This is Willpower Robbery. And
I knew the day would come.
We're going to go over one of my favorite songs ever.
Now let's qualify that. Is this your favorite song ever if we didn't do this, or this is your favorite song because we did it? Like well, this version,
let's just
back up.
My favorite songs are always within.
That is
However,
true. That is true. I forgot.
If we took that out of the equation, this is one of my favorite songs ever, regardless to us doing it or not. This song.
Why?
I thought it was a brilliant song. The original song. I mean, my song is too, but the original song is Ritmo de la Noche from a group called Lorca, which I believe that might be their only hit ever.
This was a hit?
This was a hit. This song was a hit.
That gives me hope.
So much so that there was another group that made even a bigger hit after they did it.
Will Miller? Oh no.
No, this will be the third time.
Got it.
No, but the first group, and if I'm wrong, somebody please correct me somewhere, but I don't believe so. So the first group that did it was a group called Lorca. Then, right after that, maybe 4 or 5 years after that, another group called the Staccatos did it. Staccatos, and they made it a dance song, and it was a hit for them.
In Europe, though, right?
No,
it was here.
This song was a hit here. A Latin
when
hit.
And what year, like ish?
19,
Are we talking decades?
1988.
That was a good year.
1988 is when this song, I believe, came out. I'm going to go home and look at my record just to make sure I'm right.
Yeah.
But it was 1988, and then I think the Staccatos did it again in like 1995.
Resurrected from the depths.
Or, you know what, I could be wrong. Maybe not 88, maybe 92, and then the Staccatos 95. But somewhere in between that. But the Staccatos made it big in North, South America, and I think they took this big in Europe. But then also was playing on Latin stations here, so that's why I actually first heard it in Aruba.
Okay.
And from there on, it was like I came from Aruba. I'm like, I gotta find this song here.
Well, I gotta tell you,
I found it.
I'm quite familiar with this song now.
What?
Because the first time you played it for me, I was just like, I believe the look on my face was...
It was like, horror. You gonna do this?
And
there's not much to the song, by the way. It's not a real
Well, that, I believe, was
song.
my biggest problem. I was like, this song is like 8 minutes long, and just upon one listening, I could hear probably 4 different things that were repeated for 8 minutes. I mean, and not, like, shamelessly repeated. Like, they didn't even try to make it different, right?
You gotta listen to the original.
And I'm like... Holy crap! I was like, so we're gonna Will Millerize this, right? And boy, we Will Millerize this thing, right?
Well, one of the great things about the song, the original song, is that they used a sample.
Okay.
From, which is probably a sample from something else. They used a sample of "It Takes Two," Rob Bass.
Yeah.
Which I believe is actually really James Brown, because I think Rob Bass took the sample and used it in his. So I think the original
double plagiarism.
Yeah, but I know that they took it from Rob Bass.
Yeah,
It was from It Takes Two, which we didn't use in this song.
Copies of which we didn't use that.
We didn't use
it.
Right.
I can't listen to the original.
We didn't sample anything from this.
I'm just saying I didn't bother to refresh my memory for this podcast because I would not be here right now. As a matter of fact.
Well, you need to. You got it. You got it. You got it.
It's a beastie. So this, we're gonna take you through it like we did Be Near Me, and I think that's gonna be kind of the format. Let's give it a once listen. Yeah, it's gonna be a long one.
This is.
But as you can see, and I don't know if you can see any of this actually, but this is.
And by the way, I'll have this posted. Well.
So
you'll be able to hear the entire song.
Thank you. Yep, we'll put
them. I'll talk over it.
My God.
That's good.
But this is easily the most, I can't say it's the most complicated one we did, but certainly by track count, it was the most meaty. There is so much stuff, I mean, this plastering right here represents all the things going on. Anything in blue is Billy's vocals, and I guess I can zoom in a little bit and help you out here. But like anytime you see Blue here, these are all Billy singing and his harmonies. All this down here, I love the names of some of these. Shitty Casio, the Chicka Chicka, whatever that is. Instruments. Oh my god, we never talked about track naming, right? Some of these track names are friggin' the Quiqua, finally, because it took me forever to find one, right? I mean, crowds, you name it. Goodyear, I don't even know what half the shit it means, right? But we had a lot of fun with our track naming during this session, and we'll point out the funny ones, but this was an absolute beast of a project to get this song done. And it's funny, after you hear what I just said about it and what he just said about it, it's a relatively simple song. But it
was simple then.
But the point is, we made this one our own, right?
Yeah, because I didn't want it to sound like, like I said, actually, three groups did it over. And the first group that did it after the original,
right?
They didn't
do much to it afterwards.
They didn't really do much to it. I mean, there's a new girl singing.
Right.
And then the group after that did it, they sped it up really fast, and
doesn't that kind of defeat the purpose of it being?
They sped it up, and they didn't really sing the chorus. They just did Ritmo de la Noche over and over and over and over and over again. That was it, and it was just music. So I didn't want it to sound like that.
What is that? 4 words?
Four.
So we reduced a 8-word song down to 4 words.
And they just did it. So
well, in true, Will Miller fashion, and I think I said this way back in the day, we always strive to do every single verse and chorus different. Right. And there are a lot of repetitive verses and choruses, meaning it's verse, chorus, verse, right? There's a lot, it's long. But every single one of them is different in some way, shape, or form. Yes. Maybe subtle, maybe not. But I think one of the really cool things that you did with this, your ideas, there's some pretty impressive harmonies in the song, as usual. But the harmonies build up to this climax. Remember we talked about the climax, right, of the song? And I can tell it by eye where it is, right? It's right here. So let's say about, a little more than 3/4 of the way through the song, we started to really do, this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, it's 10-part harmony right there, right? So, and a lot of potential accentual things that happen.
I have some trivia in this song that I bet you don't know.
Oh,
you bet you don't remember. Maybe you do remember.
Go ahead.
Maybe you do remember. The ending of this song, you cut off. There is another, maybe 2 minutes of the song. After that we decided not to use because Rob was like, "This is going to be long."
I couldn't. This is my friend. You see this little thing right here? This is where the song ends, right? And you can see you move this little thing back and forth, and this is where the song ends. And this thing was like out to here. Right. And I distinctly remember using that to make a point. I was like, well, here's where it ends, and here's what's going to end. That's
one of those things where I just got no say in that. I had to deal with it.
And it's funny, because I remember you calling me up, and you were in Brazil or somewhere, and you were saying, there was this DJ or something, and I had the song with me, and I played it live, and people dancing and shit. And, and I thought about it, I was like, well, in that context, okay, you got a bunch of people, you're in a country that could probably appreciate this, and you got people that are dancing. What good is a 3-minute song?
Well, true.
Right? Unless you got a DJ that's actually mixing stuff, right? So, hey, who needs a DJ? You got Will Miller with an 18-minute version, right? Shit, so, we're going to dive into it, and let's just, we'll take maybe up to the first verse in this round, and then we'll start up. So the first thing you're going to notice, so let's play 10 seconds of it. Not yet. That Casio, I call it the cheesy shitty Casio.
We're just talking about the Casio.
Let's start there. Well, because that just... I heard that thing probably for the entire 2013.
Well, it's probably the same.
14.
Right? It's probably the same Casio that was in the original song.
I intentionally went to find one that sounded like it because I didn't want to just copy the sample out of their song.
Oh yeah, because we didn't count. Yeah.
I meticulously went through to recreate a shitty sounding Casio from the 80s. And there it is, the fruits of my labor, right? Now, funny enough...
And it sounds on the...
You should post the
damn
original
well
too, or a link to it.
close
Yeah.
to this to this. And that's right. I will. I'll post the original as well as this, but it's very close.
Yep. And it's funny because I love Korg. Korg is basically makes my keyboards, right?
Okay.
And the Korg actually made a plugin of the M1, which is basically arguably the most famous keyboard of the 80s. Okay. And I decided to go see if I could recreate that, because more than likely that's what they might have used, strangely enough, because if you think in those terms, right, it's like, well, what could they have used if they were playing this live and they didn't have a piano? Well, they might have probably had an M1. So I actually went and futzed with the settings of this plugin in an M1, and we got cheesy Casio. Casio was like an insult, right? Because I wouldn't want to insult Korg, but that's what it sounds like. I just had visions of being in Macy's in New York City, playing with the shitty Casios, and that's what the fucking piano sounded like.
To me, it sounds beautiful, but you know.
But what's the other thing we noticed about the first 10 seconds of this masterpiece?
Are we going to the live?
Yeah.
There's a audience of people clapping for me.
A lot of people, I might add.
They clapping, and I don't believe that's. Well, it might be in the song. I can't think of it now. Now I'm drawing a blank. I don't really believe that it's like that in the song, in the original song.
Oh no, I don't believe so. The original one was live.
Actually, it is. It is.
It is live, but I don't know if it started that way.
I don't think it's live in the original. I think it's. I think that they threw in a bunch of people.
Well, that was not recorded live.
I don't think it was recorded live. No,
well, neither was this clearly because I didn't record this in Giant Stadium.
But they
right?
didn't. But they didn't have the. It doesn't sound like this. It doesn't sound like this
That's
at all.
because more people come to see you.
Than that group Walker?
See, we overdo everything. He's like, well, I need a live audience. So, I don't know what you were thinking, like maybe a club or whatever. I went for like 50,000 people in the stadium.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that. I just wanted some, I just wanted background audience, I totally didn't think you were going to come up with that.
Yeah. And it's funny because, clearly that's not something that we recorded, right?
But it fits perfectly within the concept of the song.
But even, and it's even in the vein of making sure that we didn't do things repetitively, that audience is not really the same throughout the whole thing.
No, that's the only time you hear
varieties of, actually, matter of fact, the crowd's probably down at the bottom, and there's all different variations of the crowd doing things at certain parts of the song.
Right,
so
it's never overlapped, which is completely different in the original song, because at the beginning you hear the audience, and at the end, if you're listening hard enough, you can hear it's the exact same audience doing the exact same thing.
Yeah. And that is one of the things that you can pick out. Like if you listen to a song enough, you're like, oh crap, that's the same person. If you know what I found? We had a sample out. Now I remember, it's coming back to me. Somebody let out like a or they made some weird sound in the audience that when you reuse it, when you're listening, you can hear that like a pin in your ear. At least I can hear it, right? And I'm like, well, either this guy is just, that's the sound he makes when he's excited and this is like a long clip, or they just looped the damn thing, right? So, he wanted live, we gave him live, and I think we had this is one of the things that we always meant to go back and fix, and we'll get into it, but it's not live, there isn't that audience through the entire song.
No, which was good because he didn't want it to sound like it was a real live song.
But the interesting thing is, to make a song sound like it's being played live is a bit of an exercise, right? Now, even without the crowd, let's just say, in a real situation, you got a band playing and you're on the board, so you can isolate the crowd. And stuff sounds different live, right? So there's actually plugins and stuff that I used here to muffle and mute some of the things that are going on here to make it sound like it's still on stage live, even though you can't hear the audience, right? Which may be very subtle, right? But I know it's in there, right? And if it wasn't in there, it would sound too crisp. It would be like, we're in the middle of Giant Stadium 1 second, and all of a sudden I drop you right in my vocal booth. Totally sounds different. So the reverb, for example, is a little bit more aggressive, because it's not like you're singing through in a church, or a stadium, but it is a little bit more than we would usually use in a lot of the other songs. So
It just came out
yeah, so
perfectly.
so what's the next thing that happened here? So we need, Billy goes up to me, he's like, we need some claps.
Yeah, right. We need claps.
And I'm like, well shit, I said, there's enough people in the house right now, why don't we just record them?
Oh, right, that's right.
Right? So
That's right.
I'm busting trying to find claps, you know, one clap's fine, a bunch of people clapping is fine, but then you gotta get it on tempo. And that's annoying, and then clapping, if you got 6 people clapping, everybody isn't gonna hit it at the same time.
I totally forgot about that.
So I went and rallied the troops. I gathered whoever was upstairs. My wife. I think she had a couple of friends over.
Right.
One of our friends, you know, one of your friends was over, and I just said, "Well, everybody get back, including me." I went over, hit record, ran back, and then we started doing this. And you can hear it in the back. Crowd eyeball. Slowly. Let's go to the first verse.
Solo en conjunto vengan a buscar, esta noche ya llegó a girar, vengan a cantar, y yo no me quiero parar, vengan a bailar, y vengan a cantar.
Gives me goosebumps every time I hear it.
That's not my reaction generally, but
Yeah, it's not his reaction at all.
I get hives.
2 different reactions.
But clearly, shit ton going on in there, right? This is only half of the tracks that I'm showing you right here. But basically, you know, if you listen to that first verse, which that was the
a lot
verse,
of
right?
stuff going on.
That you will not hear that again. As a matter of fact, you can visually see if this is I have them. Oh, look at that. Look at our. I got them labeled up here. I know you can't see this. I'm sorry, but this says chorus, verse 1, chorus 2, verse 2, chorus 3, just to show you what you're in for, right? Muerto, what is that? I don't even know. Break, chorus 4, verse 3, chorus 5, chorus 6. Every single one. Do you see any repetition here? Really? Not really. There's differences in every single thing, be it vocally or be it musically. We're going to focus on clearly the vocals more than the music. But the first one is. Well, we'll get to the music. You know, we'll intersperse it. But you know.
I don't think you can take them out because.
What's that?
The music and the vocals, because the music for me, at least in this song, changed the way I actually sang it.
Oh.
I mean, it's pretty close to the original.
Right.
But there was a completely different feeling from the way I heard it, and the way I heard it on the original song, and then hearing my version of the song.
Right.
So it completely takes on almost takes on a whole different sort of.
Sure.
Meaning.
Well, I mean, and I consider that a compliment, right? Regardless whether or not I like the material, the fact that it influenced you in a better way. I mean, that's half the job of, you know, collaborating with somebody. Right?
Doing this particular song for me was one of those things where, you know, if it didn't, I wanted to. I always say that it's very hard to outdo an original, because I always think in my mind that that's going to be the best. People are going to know that more so than anything else, and
more usually,
you know, that's. But for me, this came as close as possible to
what you envisioned,
what I hear in my head,
right?
Which was something like I said in earlier tapings.
And
I could never get out to you.
I mean, if you just look, I mean, I don't even remember what else the stuff is, but you know, timbales and tambourine 1, tambourine 2, whistles, quiqua, you know, chicka chicka, whatever that is. I mean, whatever the name. I mean, all of the things, and it's funny because you kind of gave me an idea of all the stuff that would probably be on a stage. I remember you telling me like, oh, well, there's this and there's this and this type of instrument. And some of them I knew what they sounded like, but just getting the sound doesn't mean anything. Now we got to figure out how to use it.
Right.
Because, you know, just like anything else, like using a keyboard to play guitar. If you don't play the guitar, then you could potentially do something that is impossible to play on a guitar, playing on a keyboard sample. Very, you know, I guess with percussion instruments, it's a little less, you know, jarring, but that's a cool example of collaboration where I was just getting names of things, and then we turned it into that madness, right? And if you just one last point about it does sound a little muffled, and that's intentional because we want it to sound like all this. Everybody's got two hands, and I just rattled off 6, 7 different percussion instruments, so you have 6, 7 people minimum, plus the guy that's singing, plus the crowd that died down, so we can focus a little bit. But a lot going on there. So, should we finish with maybe go through that break there in the chorus?
You can do whatever you want.
Okay. So now here's some infamous breathing room.
Alright, we got a little. Right.
So I don't think we fought about this breathing room,
No.
but well, take that back. I didn't fight about it because we're on, you know, 30 seconds into the song.
Oh, right,
Breathing
so
room, 18 minutes into the song.
Yeah.
It was like suffocation room, right?
Oh, that part.
The band warming up. Oh, wow.
Good, keep going.
Oh.
Guajira, vengan a cantar, y yo no me quiero parar. Vengan a bailar, y vengan a cantar.
There's no music here. Straight going on. And kick back in. So
This is a carnival song.
right.
They could take this in Brazil and play it in carnival, and
Yep.
it would work.
But that is a signature thing that we did, right? Whereas you sang the first verse was pretty plain. The second verse was pretty plain, except for one little subtle difference in the vocals, but the music changed.
The music changed, right?
And then when we got to the second chorus, you could start to hear the harmonies coming out. Obviously intentional. And that last little thing you did right before that was you shot in a girl.
Right, now.
Right? And where did that come from?
And so, first let me say that in the first verse, between the first verse and the chorus, the beat changes.
Yes.
And you may not notice it, well, you would notice it. But the beat actually changes. It changes again in the second chorus.
Right.
So, it goes back to the original beat and then changes again in the second chorus. But, I just wanted to say that because it was just some trivia item. But also, this girl, that is for a lot of people who would listen to dance music back in the late 80s, there was a song called Give It Up by the Goodmen. And it basically goes, give it up, give it up, give it up, girls, right? And I wanted to use that, but of course, one, I didn't want to license it.
That's a good reason.
And two, even when I think we did try to see if we could isolate it a bit, but just it was just too muddled and too much stuff going on behind it. Meanwhile, the group of I wanted it because I'm a little angry. I wanted it to be in the exact same key as they sang it originally.
Okay.
Which is way out of my range.
Right.
To sing it. So I practiced. Oh gosh, I practiced to make sure I could get to it because it's actually two guys that are doing the. I think it's 2 or 3 guys that are doing the give it up.
Yeah.
In their key. So I physically did it for this. So in certain parts of the song, you'll hear it give it up in that, I guess, context. And the girl at the end of that was just the way they ended it. So they ended it up with give it up.
Here it is isolated.
So you just cut it out and put it there.
So here's you doing it.
Give it up!
Yeah, that's good.
And then that's 2 tracks. Sang both of them. We didn't.
Girls!
Right.
But that in the you can barely hear that with this crate. See how buried it is back there, right? And that was intentional.
It was intentional.
It's like
it's perfectly placed.
now I didn't know what the hell was going on when you were doing that, right? Because you were like, okay, I need 2 more tracks. Like, well, sometimes I'm like, and I don't really care. I mean, I was like, okay. When he starts doing this, and I have to admit, I probably did hear that song at some point because it was very popular.
I'm sure you heard it. I mean,
and I'm like, that actually
just so
works
you
pretty
know,
well there.
he doesn't listen to
No.
my type of music. So if he didn't hear it, it wouldn't be
There was no good men in my 80s. Right? So we will break here because this is a long and winding road.
It was a long song.
We'll pick it up here next time, and then we'll take you through the rest of this chaos going on stage here. Because I counted at least 16, 17 people required to do this.
And it was only 2 of us.
Yeah, it's so much cheaper than when
Right?
me and you.
Exactly, just me and you.
Take us out.
Oh my gosh, here we
look at
go.
the angst.
I hate it. We are on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, and someday I'm going to put that stuff right underneath so I don't have to say it, but...
Why don't we write it next time?
I should write it down, but it's just so long. So just look for us on YouTube and you'll find all the stuff there. And also on Facebook, don't forget, we got Twitter, we got Periscope, we got Snapchat, and right.
Holy crap.
All that stuff. So find us.
Good, there's places to find us, then there are tracks in the song.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm impressed. See ya.